The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
We are back. Golenbock University, Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. I'm Ralph Tyko, one of the three Baseball Mishuganas. Alan Blumkin is here. He's two. And the professor is here. He is Professor Peter Golenbock. Alan Blumkin, Peter Golenbock. How you doing, guys?
Okay.
Just great. Doing
okay. We're kind of skipping around a little today because Billy Martin was going to return to our airwaves. He's vacationing in Puerto Vallarta. The number worked earlier on in the day when we tested it, so he could call in. It isn't working now. We're going to take a rain check with him. And the three of us were chatting off the air a little bit, and I was telling Peter about an interview that I recently did and published on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network with a fellow by the name of Jack O'Halloran, who wrote a book called Family Legacy. And Jack is the son of the late Albert Anastasia, who, as most people know, was the absolute head of Murder Incorporated. And Mr. Halloran was given, after Anastasia's death, a document that Anastasia's attorney turned over to his mother, Halloran's mother, O'Halloran's mother.
Did you got a call in? Somebody else there?
Somebody's here.
Is Billy there?
Yes, this is Billy.
All right, we're going to talk about O'Halloran another time. We've got Billy Martin on the line, and it is a pleasure to welcome you back, my friend. You're one of my favorite humans, and I know you're one of Peter's favorite humans because we talked about you.
We haven't met.
You haven't? Please meet Al Blumkin. I'd like you to meet Billy Martin.
Hi, Billy. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure's mine, Al.
Good. We'd like to catch up on you. What are you doing? And first of all, you're vacationing in Puerto Vallarta. So, as we were saying, things can't be going all that badly for Billy Martin these days.
It was a beautiful day today. With my job as an agent, I can't ever totally clock out. And so have been, and then still in the negotiations right now, but hoping to get that finalized real soon so I can shut the phone off and vacate for a little while.
Okay. Not bad. And it's a beautiful day down there, so you'll have that. What's the time frame? We're about 8 o'clock Eastern here. Yeah,
it's Central Time. We're an hour behind you guys.
Oh, okay. So it's early evening, and nice.
I live in Texas, so this is my normal time.
Good. May I ask you this, Billy? The last we touched bases, you were managing yourself. Your dad, of course, is the late Alfred Billy Martin. You are not a junior. I just want to make that clear to everybody, but he's your dad. And you were doing some independent ball managing. And I want to ask you how that's going, how that went.
Well, it was a very unique experience. I managed the Texas Air Hogs in the Independent American Association this year, and it's basically AA baseball. And a friend of mine, Donnie Nelson, the president and general manager of the Dallas Mavericks basketball team, he is part of the ownership group, and he's a lot bigger than me, so he made me manage the team, basically. But,
you didn't have much of a choice. You kind of forced into that one.
Is this Don Nelson, the former basketball player for the Celtics?
He is the son of...
Oh, the son. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We have the In the Suns Club, Don. Yeah, and it was really neat. Being an agent for 2 decades and being Dad's son, but honestly, never coaching much more than my kids' teams. And even then, usually as an assistant, because I couldn't be at every game. It was a unique experience for me. It was both exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. I thought about, the third game of the year. I remember going to one of Mickey Mantle Jr.'s high school baseball games and hearing some old bastard say, "Ain't no Mickey Mantle." How many big leaguers were as good as Mickey Mantle? But,
yeah, right.
But I'm sure there were several people that said that about me and about my lack of knowledge as a manager. But I had a blast. I was probably too much of an agent because I really cared about my players, and my goal was to get them to the next level. But I did have a blast doing it. I really did.
2 things I want to add. There's a man on this station named George Case III. He's the son of George Case Jr., who was a terrific outfielder in the pre-war days and the war days, World War II days. And George tells the story about playing Little League ball and his dad coming to watch him, and some loudmouth jerk yelling exactly the same thing. "Hey, Case," to the kid who's 13, right? "You'll never be as good as your dad." His dad's right in the... I just want to know what the F is wrong with society that can drive a person to sit in the stands and heckle a kid or a junior or anyone based on their father's success or this, that, and the other thing. That amazes me about the...
It is, and that's why every time I meet the son of another son of a famous man, there's an instant bond. The first time I met former President George W. Bush when he was the Texas Rangers owner, he not only did we shake hands, but he took his left arm and wrapped it around my shoulder and kind of gave me the half man hug. And my friend who was with me, as we walked away, said, "I didn't know you knew him." I said, I didn't. That was my first time to meet him. He's like, "Well, what do you mean? He hugged you." I said, "That's because he knows to some small degree. I know his pain a little bit because as the son of, you're always prejudged. Yeah. They expect you to be, your father. Yeah. And as much as we all want to be our fathers to some degree, we're not. We're different in some ways, and it's interesting because Donnie and I hit it off just like that. Pete Rose Jr. and I managed against each other this year.
That's
and
fun.
It was, and he's a great guy. He was very helpful to me, somebody I could reach out to during the year, and and he almost won the championship and still took time to mess with me.
That's funny because I remember the 1980 World Series. It was Kansas City playing against St. Louis. No, sometimes it was Philadelphia was playing, and Pete was playing in Philadelphia that year, and little Pete was, I think, 12. And there he was, playing catch with his dad before the World Series games, and now he's not 12 anymore. It's kind of funny.
He's not, and he's he's great, and he's a player's guy. His players love playing for him, and he, like I said, he was damn helpful to me, and we were in the same division and played each other a lot. And I don't know, it's a unique world growing up in it. It's mostly wonderful.
Well, the interesting thing about minor league ball is there's sort of a new philosophy about it, where what you're doing, it's not about wins and losses. It's about preparing your players to go to the next level. And I guarantee you that's exactly what you were doing.
Funny, when I'm, as an agent, when I'm talking to a kid, a high school kid, for example, that's about to be in the next draft. Mm-hmm. And, of course, I try to explain to them, guys, pro ball's a little meaner, a little different. Look at me like, well, baseball, great. I get paid. I don't have to go to school. Well, yeah, except for you. Remember this. Your teammates now become your competition. And they give me the look like, what?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Right.
Your roommate might be dropping an F-bomb every time you get a hit because you're both competing to move up to high A, to double A, to whatever the next level is. Matter of fact, the guys on the other team don't even matter. You're competing with your own team to climb that ladder because it's all about getting to the big leagues.
Yet there's a tremendous camaraderie from what I've understand from talking to ball players with their minor league teammates, even though there's that competition.
Well,
am I right?
You take on you're absolutely right, because you take on this professionalism, and you realize, and this is where I know like a guy's turned the corner. I'll give you an example. I had an outfielder in Major League camp, and he called me about one of his teammates who was also an outfielder. Now I'm talking two similar guys, two center fielders. Okay? And my client calls me and says, hey, Billy, I gave this guy your number. He's unhappy with his agent. And, and I recommended you to him. Of course, it's an awesome compliment for me. It's like, I hear music when I hear things like that. But, you hear the natural music in the background. Ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba. But anyway, I said to him, dude, he's kind of your competition. And literally, they had just gone through a season where they both
Billy, speak into the phone a little bit. I think we're losing you.
Okay, I apologize.
No, yeah, we go.
Okay, they both had the same amount of at-bats in their first year of service, and my guy and him both hit the exact same. They both hit 290. My guy had a little more pop. He had a little more stolen bases and run scored. And they were both center fielders, and, it was amazing how similar they were. And I said, he's competition. How can you recommend me to him? And he laughed and said, Billy, I'm my competition. If I hit and do my job, they're going to find a spot for me in the lineup. If he hits and does his job, they're going to find a spot for him in the lineup. And that's the way a real professional looks at it. He just looks at his game. He doesn't look around. He doesn't look behind him, in front of him, who's trying to steal his job, whatever. He just worries about doing his job. And it's going to all work out.
Hey, Billy, I'd like Al to ask you, he's never met you, and I'm sure he has many questions to ask you about stuff. How about that? Al Blumkin is our maven, and Al, ask Billy anything you'd like.
Well, you know Dale Barra at all?
Love Dale Barra.
Yeah, because
it's been years, but I've always.
As one time I was talked about yelling things out. I was at a Yankee game when Dale Barra was with the Yankees, They're playing Texas, and he came up with a couple of men on. I turned to a friend of mine, said very quietly, if this is Yogi, the game would be over. But he's not. I didn't yell. I don't yell at games. I never have. But again, you're right. It does, just by definition, I think if you're the son of a famous ball player and you play the same sport, there's going to be that type of thing. This is almost 30 years ago, so I've come a little way since then.
Well, you know what though? But think about this: had Dale played in the same time Yogi did,
I know,
he played in the 50s. He played in the 50s. He might have been better than his father. I mean, athletes continue to get better. I mean, my father swore to me I was better than him. I was not I was good in college. Okay? But he said I had more ability than he did. I don't know if he said that to build me up.
Father. That was just who your father was.
But yeah, and he was building me up. But you know what? Also, I played my best games whenever he was around. He only got to go to one game my senior year in high school.
Huh.
I was 5 for 5 that game.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right.
because I fed off his confidence. My coach knew it and batted me in the 3-hole that game. That was the only time I batted in the 3-hole all year. It was
your father seemed to I saw quite a bit because I grew up a Yankee fan back in those days. I mean, when it got to the World Series, he turned it up to a whole another level. Yeah, he outplayed Jackie Robinson in all 4 World Series where they played each other.
Peter and I have talked about this before, but he was able to uber focus in those big games. He could channel all his focus into what he was doing.
Right.
And I remember Mickey telling me a story one time, saying, I remember one of our first World Series, and this was right after Dad had died. Mickey would take me out to dinner about twice a month in Dallas. It was awesome for me. He would, especially when he drank. and he was talking about being in one of those World Series, and he's like, I remember sitting in the dugout and we're all looking around. Wow, look how crowded this place is. We're in the World Series. This is awesome. And next thing you know, your old man's sliding into second, spiking the shortstop on the other team and getting in his face because he just hit a double. And we're all looking at each other like, yeah, all right, here we go. Let's go. Billy can do this. We can do this. Let's go. And because those brighter lights made my father focus that much more for some reason. And it's a neat phenomenon. I mean, you're right, because as a World Series player, if there was a World Series Hall of Fame, he'd be in it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no question.
He belongs in the Hall of Fame right now. I mean, if Steinbrenner hadn't sort of...
As a manager, yes, sir.
As a manager and a player. I don't care.
I can't
the reason I have a career, in the book Dynasty, when I interviewed him, he was so fabulous. I wrote in the book that he was as important to Yankee as a player as Mickey Mantle or Whitey Ford. And that was the thing that made my career, because I had written the one book. That was the only book I was ever going to write. And when he read that, he knew who he wanted to write his autobiography. And that was me.
Well, and you were right in a way. I mean, because he was every man. He was a blue collar baseball player.
Mm-hmm.
But that epitomized what Yankee fans wanted, because he didn't have the talent that Mickey had.
No, nobody did.
Right. But he had that grit, that tenacity, that I always fight you. I don't care how damn big you are. We're gonna go, because I'm gonna find a way to beat you.
Yep.
And that's the old Yankee way. And you're right. He epitomized that. And that's why he was happy nowhere else.
I was 10 years old when they took him they took him into the Army in 1954, and I heard that. I got very, very upset. I thought they was really, they did that to him, Johnny Padres. They did that to a few people who all of a sudden, they tried to do it to Mickey also because, but his knees kept him out.
That's right.
That the player got prominent publicity for something, and, those days, the military was after them to show that they treated everybody equally, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the ironic untruth to that is when my father was drafted, he never went to Korea. They had him play and coach on a baseball team that played against the other bases.
In Monterey, California, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So,
No, Willie Mays didn't go to Korea. Whitey Ford didn't go to Korea. Dick Roth, who I interviewed a whole bunch of years ago, didn't go. Whitey Ford was based in New Jersey for his 2 years.
Well, his frustration was, okay, either send me to Korea, or if you drafted me to play baseball, let me go play for the New York Yankees, because this is ridiculous. And it was.
Billy, I'd like to know about your managerial style. Was it like your dad's in every way? What ways did it differ? What's that like?
Where it was like him was, I think I really was intuitive to my players and listened to, and tried to understand them and put them in the best position to succeed. I wasn't a big speech guy. I let my coaches do their job. My guys all had the green light to go whenever they wanted. I obviously believe in small ball like my father. But in the right way. And, but I believe in pushing the envelope, and I believe in making guys believe in themselves. Because that's how you win. If your players are confident, they're going to do well. And it was a unique year for me. I learned a lot. I still have a ton more to learn, and I don't know how many more years I have in the dugout, but I wanted to do it at least once just to feel it.
Where's the home park for this team?
20 minutes from my house.
Dallas,
Texas. Yes, sir. Right between Dallas and Fort Worth. I mean, literally 5 minutes from the Ranger Stadium.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
Whoa.
Now for the $64,000 question. How many times did you have to change pitchers during a game?
It depended on the game. 2 or 3. I probably taxed my starting pitchers less than any manager in the league. I had a couple of them complain to me that I didn't, throw them in the hundreds as often as they wanted. But that's the agent in me. I didn't want to hurt anybody.
So you were trying to keep them from getting Tommy John surgery or hurt their arms in some way.
Correct, Amundo. Absolutely.
Very good.
My job was to try to get them back in affiliated ball. That's what I wanted.
I see. And how much success did you have? Where did these kids go?
We only had a few kids signed. We had one though. Man, I'm still. I told you I was in the negotiations. I've got a kid that 15 teams are after in the major leagues right now. 15 affiliated teams are trying to sign this kid. It's really fun. And every now and then I mention this kid who was the closer of my team I managed this year. This kid named Rob Tazine, he's a side-on right-hander.
Uh-huh.
I don't get it. I don't get how he's not in Philly Unit ball right now. He needs to be in somebody's big league bullpen. This kid can throw 5-6 days a week. He doesn't even need to warm up. He's got such a rubber arm. You can just have him run in there and throw his 10 pitches, and he's ready to go.
Billy, is he a lefty?
He's a righty. Oh, if he was a lefty, there's no doubt he'd be in the big leagues right now.
Yeah. May I complete my thought and ask you, how did your style differ from your dad's? How does your managerial style differ?
Well, I didn't completely grab a hold of everything. I've never coached third. So I did like Dad did in Oakland. I let my third base coach make his calls. I talked to him about how I felt philosophically, and we were pretty close to the same page. But I wasn't doing that. Our pitching coach left early in the year, so I had to handle all of that part of it. But I probably didn't jump on the ump's ass as much as my father did.
Well, times have changed.
They have, and I thought about it philosophically. These guys have a job. I've umpired. I've done it. I get it. But the umpires love Dad off the field. Peter, you know that. I mean, they love him off the field because as soon as the game was over, that's it. But he had that unique ability to, as soon as he stepped on the line, he was a different animal between the lines, And
Yep.
then as soon as the game was over, he shut it off. And not many people to this day have I ever seen that who really have that ability that he had. And, I tried to do that.
Nobody.
Yeah, you're right.
Nobody.
Billy, do you aspire to coach in and manage in minor league ball and organized ball, as well as you're trying to get your players back into it? How about yourself?
Well, I did talk to Brian Cashman twice today.
Whoa.
But it wasn't about that. He was interested in that ball player I was talking about. But, no, I have no business there. I've got way too much to learn before I could ever even consider stepping into that arena.
Okay, well, I didn't mean right in the big leagues right away, but maybe in the lower minors.
I don't know.
You've thought about?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how many clubs are looking to hire coaches that have not played in the big leagues. I don't think we're going to see many of those guys anymore.
No.
I didn't play in the minor leagues even. I mean, I think that's going to become a rare incident in this game because it's going to be hard to command the players' respect.
That's right.
And
Walter Olson had one at bat in the big leagues. He was the exception.
Earl Weaver never had an at bat in the major
Earl
leagues.
Weaver too.
Jim Weaver never had an at bat in the major leagues.
And there were some good ones, the guys that almost make it. That had to use every bit of wit and guile they had to get to that point. Those guys make great managers.
Yeah, Sparky Anderson.
What did they learn on the bench? If they were bench warmers, they got to sit by managers and coaches and learn the game. And in a sense, it's an advantage to be mediocre as a player, because as a superstar, you can't identify with someone who doesn't have that kind of talent.
Sure. It's easy for those guys.
Yeah.
That's right.
Tony La Russa was a scrub utility infielder.
Yeah, Sparky Anderson had 1 year as a regular with the 1959 Phillies, he hit 218.
Yep.
Mickey Mantle told me this one day. This was one of those dinners after he took me out after Dad had passed, and he said, I knew your dad was going to be a great manager when we were young players. He said, because he was always looking for an angle. He would see the pitcher tip a pitch and run over to Casey and say, hey, he's tipping his curveball. Look what he's doing. He would notice where the second baseman was playing or the shortstop and say, we can steal second. They won't even cover. And he was always right. And he said it was amazing. He was like, hell, I just took my bag.
Have you read that big biography that came out on him about 2 years ago?
Well, he told me that himself.
It was like a 600-page book that came out
Well,
on your dad
Dad
2 years ago.
Mickey didn't do exercises. Dad would do exercises to help gain any advantage he could. Guys didn't lift back then. They didn't do that stuff.
No. Mickey never lifted a weight in his whole life.
No, and he had that amazing, perfect baseball body, those giant forearms.
Yep.
Wrists. I mean,
But he built that body in the mines.
That's
early
correct.
on.
Yep.
So it wasn't just dumbbells, but nevertheless it was lifting weight. Mickey, amazing. Mickey, Willie playing in the same city, literally at the same time. Both starred in 1951. Talking about chiseled bodies
and they could have played on the same team had the Yankees not been so racist. That's the thing that gets my goat.
Yeah.
They had Willie Mays scouted. He was down at Birmingham. I found the letter in the Yankee archives. I think I put it in the book Dynasty, where they said, W. Mays, we ought to sign this guy. And they didn't do it.
Who was general manager?
Red Sox were famous for
general manager was George Weiss at the time. He didn't want black fans because he was afraid that they would push out the white fans.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, all of this in our lifetime. But,
all of this in our lifetime. That's true.
That's what's really scary.
I read just recently a great anecdote about Casey Stengel. He was managing the Mets in 1962, and late in the year, they acquired Gene Woodling, who was finishing out his career with the expansion Senators, and Woodling was sitting next to Casey in the dugout at one Met game, and Casey says to Woodling, says, "Ain't like it was in the old days, is it?"
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. That's for sure. As an avid Met fan in those days, I can assure you that it wasn't like in the old days.
No, it was different. It was just different. That's all.
Casey Stengel loved Billy Martin, the player. Loved him.
He certainly did. Well, yes. I mean, it was because of Casey. They were in Oakland together.
Yeah.
And then when the Yankees hired him, Casey Stengel said to Billy, "You play one more year in Oakland, and then I'm going to bring you up to the Yankees." And Billy, for a while, wasn't sure that Casey was telling him the truth, but of course he was. And I am sure, I am absolutely positive that if Billy had any other manager, chances are that he would not have come up to the big leagues, because he was a tough character. He was a really tough character when he was a kid. But Stengel loved him, and Stengel knew exactly who he was and what he had. And
he was very close to Eddie Stanky in the sense that they both did not have natural ability. They weren't as fast as other second basemen. They couldn't turn to double plays, but they came up big in big games. They'd find ways of beating you in the little ways, like Billy was saying, knowing when the guy's going to steal, knowing when the guy could steal, that kind of thing. When it's guts and guile that win games. It's oftentimes the little things. You see a ball game, it isn't necessarily decided by the home run. It's decided by who got the winning run on base. you got the run on base when the home run was hit, kind of thing.
It's very interesting to listen to Billy's players talk about Billy. I'm doing a book right now with Lenny Randall, as you know. And Lenny played for Billy in Texas, and he played for Billy with the Yankees in 1979. And
the most interesting man in baseball.
The most interesting man in baseball. But I am telling you, I sit and listen to Lenny talk about Billy. I could do it for hours. It's absolutely fascinating. Billy was the smartest manager in all of baseball for a long, long time. George Steinbrenner, on some level, had no idea what he had. He just knew he was jealous of Billy because the players loved Billy and didn't love him. I mean, it's amazing to me how
George
similar...
Steinbrenner was cruel because he knew all Billy wanted was that Yankee job.
Well, that's right.
He used that to screw his life around 5 different times.
Well, he was cruel in the same way that Trump is cruel. I mean, he was a narcissist of the worst sort, and he demanded that he get the headlines in the paper every single day. And Steinbrenner could not stand it when somebody else was more popular than he. And I'm totally convinced that a couple times George fired Billy because Billy had the fans in the palm of his hand. When George fired Billy and then brought him back 2 days later, and on Old Timers Day had him come out there and announce.
Yeah, I was there for that. Yeah.
That in another year, Billy Martin was going to come and manage the Yankees. They blew the roof off of Yankee Stadium. It was one
I was there for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in the ballpark that day. Yeah.
You are
famous moment.
You are a witness.
Favorite moment in baseball.
His favorite moment in baseball, I'm sure.
No, it was. He told me. When they retired his number.
Yeah.
In '86, I asked him. I had a knife made for him as a present, and I wanted to put in the scrimshaw on the handle 2 moments of his career. And so I asked him what was his favorite moment of his career, and I was expecting him to tell me something. The '53 World Series where he was
exactly
MVP,
right.
Something. And he said it was that day.
Yeah.
When they announced he was coming back as manager at the Old Timers Day. Remember, it was Old Timers Day when they announced it.
Yeah.
That's right.
And he said that was it for me. That was the longest standing ovation in Yankee history.
That's right. That's exactly right. It was maybe 10 minutes. If you can understand what 10 minutes of a standing ovation is like. The fans were furious that he had been fired.
And he said, pal, and this is him, just he and I telling me this one. And he said, because, and I said, well, why? Because, and that one threw me off. And he said, well, because not only were my players there, but my old teammates and Casey and all the fans, everybody was there at this one time for this announcement. And to get that ovation, and it was awesome. The only other ovation that comes close was Mickey Mantle on Mickey Mantle Day.
Yeah.
But the announcer actually shut that down and asked the fans to stop cheering. So
that's on YouTube. The Mickey Mantle Day is on YouTube. I think, Peter, you mentioned that you were at that game.
Oh, I was there for that one. Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I was at with the reserves in Fort Knox, Kentucky, doing summer camp when that day happened.
Oh. Yeah,
well,
I
watched that on YouTube over and over again. All the guys that came back at that time, obviously still alive, that came back, and they line them up by their position. Center field, right field, they'd have Woodling and Bauer and everybody and their dog, and fans went nuts. I mean, it was just. I hope that your dad's thing is on YouTube too. We'll look for that. It'd be great if it is. And that was his favorite moment of all time in baseball.
All time, yeah. Totally blew me away. It was. I would have expected, like I said, the '53 World Series or winning his first World Series as a manager in '77.
Exactly.
But no, it was that moment right there.
Yep.
Well.
Yep, I'll tell you, the sport misses him. The sport.
Oh, absolutely.
They have no idea.
There was nothing like those days of those.
Well,
and the Dodgers were strong. Great World Series, the Reggie Jackson thing.
Yeah.
Anything? Can you add, Billy? Anything to the relationship that we don't know about between your dad and Reggie?
Reggie took shots at him. 12 years posthumous. And said he was racist and anti-Semitic, and still to this day, my father was the most colorless human being I've ever known in my life. He was I'll give you an example. I heard
Lenny will tell you that.
Oh, absolutely.
Lenny Randall will check that one off.
He helped more Latin American players than any other manager. You talked to Zualo Versalles.
Well, I was just thinking about that because I opened the book, all four, and or number one, your book, and I always have your books on my desk, and I turned to that, and he was a coach with Minnesota over Sam Mealy, and the whole thing under Sam Mealy, he was the third base coach, and he was always accused of trying to get Mealy's job, and there was other coaches on the staff that were trying to get his job, and he would bring Versailles into the coaching room to change with him because he was so down on himself, and Billy coached that man up to be MVP in '65.
That's right.
He put it all together that year. That was the only year he put it all together. He was a very talented guy, obviously, and it was all a head thing. And Billy, perfect example of the kind of person that Billy Sr. was.
Understand, too, Reggie is not a nice man.
Yes. Yeah, I just read something on Facebook. Yeah. The whole tragedy, because he turned down some guy put on that he was 10 years old and he asked Reggie for an autograph and was cursed at him. Reggie cursed at him, and there was a whole train on thread on this Facebook post about Reggie Jackson was all by himself, and I think one of the Yankee players said when they signed him, he said, "There's not enough mustard in the world to cover that hot dog."
Well, understand too. Reggie comes to the Yankees, and the first thing he does, he does an interview. He does an interview with Sport Magazine to tell people that he's the straw that stirs the drink. That Thurman Munson. Now, understand, Billy loved Thurman. Greg Nettles loved Thurman. Sparky loved Thurman. All these people loved Thurman. Just loved the guy like a brother. And this guy comes in.
He was the most respected player I've ever seen by his teammates.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. And this guy comes in and tells people that Thurman can only stir his drink bad, that he's the only one who can do it. I mean, Reggie was such an egomaniac and had such a low self-esteem that he was just asking for exactly what happened. And Billy couldn't stand him. I mean, Billy, Billy and I spent a whole year together. Billy just, he couldn't understand why George signed him in the first place. And then once he signed him, he couldn't understand why George, stood up for him so often. It just made Billy crazy.
And he had to work so hard to keep that team together. So part of what he had to do, and the funny part is, if Reggie would look back and realize, my father got the best out of him. He absolutely got the best out of him, which was his job.
That's right.
And so because he said those comments, because the team instantly despised him, what did he do? He batted him later in the order to try to take a shot at him, to tell him, hey, you're not the straw that stirs the drink, dude. You got to prove it. You got to earn it on this team. And that brought the team closer together. And it was an interesting, almost, bonds type situation where the other guys and him were against each other to some degree, but it worked. And he slowly let Reggie earn his way to that 4-hole spot that he really wanted, that George wanted him to hit in. But Dad wasn't going to just give it to him. He was going to make him earn it. And it helped with those dynamics. And it works perfectly. When did it crescendo? Right when it needed to. And he hits 3 games to win 3 home runs to win the World Series.
That's exactly
it was
right.
Perfect. But
yet Reggie never forgave Billy for doing it. Never.
No, for getting the best out of him and for saving the team and winning.
No, that's right. That's right. Because it was all about Reggie.
The manager to win. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was all about Reggie. As far as Reggie was concerned, it was all about Reggie.
You know what the sad part is, Peter, for me?
What's that?
Reggie was really nice to me. And as frustrating and seeing all this, he was so good to me when I was a kid. I don't know if that's because nobody else on the team would talk to him or not. But
yeah, probably.
Was great for me.
You and Fran
he played
Hillard.
catch with me. So Dad even noticed it. I mean, Dad pulled me aside one day and said, "Art, Reggie's good to you, huh?" And I was like, I felt weird. I'm like, yeah, he is, Dad. He would ask me to play catch with him. But, back in those days, it was
neat.
So awesome. I saw Thurman tell him to shut his mouth one day.
Oh, yeah.
That was
really
a wild moment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well,
I know it.
Hey, great show, guys.
Our
Billy,
hour
would
is
you come
up.
back more often, please?
I hope your pitcher gets signed, Billy. I hope he gets signed.
Oh, he will. It should happen here in the next.
Very good. Very good. You be
Al,
well.
anything else you want to ask? I don't want to cut you short.
No, I just wanted to let you guys know if you want to see something that's really enjoyable, YouTube has Phil Russo's induction speech.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a piece of work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was awesome. All right, folks. Have a great week.
That. Same time next week. Thank you, Peter.
Hey, thank you, Billy.
Thank
nice
you, Alan,
meeting you.
And thank you, Billy Martin.
Bye-bye.
See you soon again, I hope. And everybody out there, keep on keeping on. If you like our offerings, please accumulate lightly used children's books. Put them in cartons and take them down to your local Head Start program. They're needed. Kids need to learn. They need to get ready for school. And your books would be a terrific way of showing basically just doing good for society. So please do that and come back next week. We'll be here. Thanks again, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Always a pleasure, fellas.